This is an introductory video to Analog Circuits course starting on Techgurukula's YouTube channel on 2nd April 2019. To be very specific, the syllabus that we have chosen for this course is from GATE so that we cover the entire breadth and depth, which will be relevant for most of the universities in India especially. So I'll go over each and every topic that is written over here so that these will be the topics dealt in detail as we go forward in the next videos. First, starting with power supplies. What do we mean by power supplies? So when we look at electronic gadgets which contain digital and analog circuitry, they primarily require the DC supply. So the supply that we get to our homes and laboratories are the line supplies which are AC. Hence, we want the AC supply to be converted to DC so that that supply can be given to the circuits that we have. Let's say, even example, the laptops, tablets, or mobiles, they need the DC supply. So the charger that you get along with the laptop, which you plug into the AC supply at your home, that charger or adapter is called the power supply. So this is comprised of a step-down transformer, a rectifier, and will contain filters which will reduce the ripple in them, and it will have a regulator. Hence, under power supplies, we will cover the syllabus of rectifiers, filters, and regulators. And in fact, to be very specific, we'll deal only with linear power supplies, not switch mode power supplies. And next, we'll move on to diode circuits. And in fact, even rectifiers come under diode circuits. And under diode circuits, we have clippers. Let's say we have a waveform, and at times we need certain operations like we want to clip a portion of the waveform, let's say. Then when we clip the waveform, we'll get a signal like this. And the circuit that is used to make this kind of wave shaping is called clipper, because we have clipped the waveform, and we use clampers. These are required to actually shift the waveform. Let's say if you have a waveform with no DC signal, it's a pure AC signal. At times, we need to actually add a DC component to it so that the average value, here we call DC, should be inserted into the waveform by a circuit called clamper. So we'll discuss clampers under diode circuit. Then we'll move on to the small signal models of the devices that we have discussed in electronic devices, the diode, BJT, and MOSFET. During this discussion, we will deal with where the device should be operated in such a way that the device actually works as an amplifier. And in order to do that, we need to apply DC biasing to it. So when we move on to the next topic, single stage amplifiers, the first thing that we will discuss is biasing. When we say biasing, it's basically DC biasing, so that we bias the transistors, let's say the BJT and MOSFET, in such a way that they're going to amplify the small signal supplied at the input. But when we do biasing by applying DC supply to the transistor, obviously the biasing would depend on temperature and other device parameters. So to understand that, we are going to study bias stability of a amplifier in bias. And when we talk about amplifier as such, which means it's an amplitude magnifier. We'll be studying amplifier especially in mid-frequency small signal analysis to start with, because when we look at amplifiers and their frequency responses, in general, due to capacitance parameters present at the external to the circuitry, we get amplification factor small at low frequencies. Let's say this is amplification with respect to frequency. Amplification would be smaller at low frequencies and smaller at high frequencies. But when we look at the mid-range frequencies or mid-frequency range, the amplification value would be pretty much constant. Hence, we start with mid-frequency small signal analysis, and then we will move on to understanding the frequency response of the amplifiers. And of course, when we study amplifiers, there are different kinds of loads that we can give to the amplifier, and we'll figure out that the load should be as high as possible to get a better amplification factor. And we'll come to a point where saying active loads are the best, which means current sources or current mirrors. And we will discuss a bit more in detail about current mirrors, where we'll assume that there is an ideal current source present and we're going to use circuits called current mirrors to mirror that current. So let's say symbolically I'm representing here that I have a mirror and let's say there is a current source. We are trying to actually create a mirror of that current. But this is just a symbolic view, but we're going to use current mirrors as active loads to amplifiers to get better amplification. And these are very important when we are talking about integrated circuit design of amplifiers. And of course, these circuits are very important in designing digital to analog converters. Once we deal with single stage amplifiers, we'll move on to multi-stage amplifiers. Let's say when we design a single stage amplifier, the amplification factor is not enough, let's say. Let's say the amplification factor that we get out of one amplifier is, let's say, A1. If you connect the output of that amplifier to another amplifier, let's say, has amplification factor of A2, then the signal amplification total would be A1 times A2. Multi-stage amplifiers have various advantages, and in fact we're going to discuss about cascade structures, which is shown in fact here, and we'll discuss about cascode, and in BJTs we'll see a special pair called Darlington pair. And then we're going to move on towards feedback amplifiers, because when we look at amplifiers with high gain and so on and so forth, they always come with some sort of distortion, noise, and bandwidth restrictions and so on and so forth. So those things can be trade-off by sacrificing certain things and increasing certain other things by taking feedback in amplifiers. Obviously, we have two types of feedbacks, one positive and another one negative. Specifically, we'll be dealing with the negative feedback amplifiers, in which we have voltage series amplifier, voltage shunt amplifier, current series and current shunt amplifiers. And then we will turn our attention to tuned amplifiers. The amplifiers that we discuss usually will be wideband amplifiers, but there are applications where we need the amplifiers to amplify only in a very small region of frequencies. Let's say this is with respect to frequency, we are talking about amplification factor. This is about tuned amplifiers where the frequency range would be very small. These are especially used in RF circuits or wireless applications where the incoming signal is in radio frequencies, and the intermediate frequency amplifier would be usually a tuned amplifier. Now then we move on to oscillators. In oscillators, we'll look at circuits where DC supply is provided and its output would be oscillating output. We'll talk about various kinds of oscillators like RC phase shift oscillator, Colpitts oscillator, and so on and so forth. And then we'll move on to power amplifiers. Now coming to power amplifiers, usually they're of two types based on frequency of operation: audio amplifiers or radio amplifiers, depending on the frequency of operation, as we just mentioned. When we say audio amplifiers, when you have a mobile or electronic gadget where it is giving you sound as output, the last stage of that circuitry should be a power amplifier. So that there we consider that the circuit should be delivering most of the power. It should be very efficient in terms of delivering power so that we get the maximum output through the speaker. And coming to power amplifiers, we would talk about class A, class B, A, B, C, D, and so on. Various kinds of power amplifiers. And then we will move on to differential and operational amplifiers. Operational amplifiers have so many applications, hence we will spend a lot of time on operational amplifiers. In fact, there will be a lot of videos on this topic, which will have two inputs, let's say V1, V2, and output V0, and supply to the operational amplifier. And then we will talk about a 555 timer, where this is a single IC which can be used as different multivibrators, like a stable multivibrator, monostable multivibrator, and a bistable multivibrator and other applications. And then we will move on to Cmos inverter and understand its characteristics in detail, because this becomes one of the most important circuits used in digital electronics. I'm just drawing a Cmos inverter here for reference, but we'll talk about this in very detail in terms of operation. If you find the videos helpful, please give a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do subscribe. If any of our friends are looking forward for this kind of course, please do share the links of these videos. And thank you for watching.